What's up, BookTube? Welcome back. My name is Laura if you're new here, and today I'm letting Operation pick my TBR for March. Okay, so real talk, real quick. I'm hungover as fuck right now and operating on like less than 3 hours of sleep. So I'm tired and a little bit cranky, so I'm sorry if the energy is low today. I'm probably gonna be extra sarcastic, so I apologize in advance, but that's what you're getting today. But anyways, hi, welcome to the TBR video. Announcement, I guess. This might possibly be the last operation, at least for now. I'm thinking about trying a new TBR game using my tarot cards that I have that I like literally never use, and I think I'm going to try that for April, so let me know what you think. If you like Operation and want to see it stay, then maybe I'll do that, but most likely I'll at least be trying the tarot cards for next month, seeing if I like it, and then kind of going from there. But either way, let's get into Operation. For last month, I did finish my TBR. Technically, one of the books on there I did DNF. That one was Escaping Exodus by Dade. I really wanted to love this book, but it triggered one of my phobias, so I couldn't read it. I was like 11 pages in, and it had already been talking about like incisions and fleshy sacks and like arteries and all these things, and I can't do any kind of body horror. I was barely into the book and it was already gross, and I was just like, I knew that it was gonna get worse from there, and I just didn't want to deal with it. So DNF to that one, unfortunately, but I don't count DNFs to be punishments, which means no punishments for me. Also why I'm filming this so early. I think it's the 19th right now, so yeah, I still have like over a week left in the month, but I'm done my TBR, so I might as well film the next one. So here we are. Anyways, let's just get started with the first draw before I keep rambling even longer. Okay, so first up, I got the prompt to read a romance. I also forgot to mention, in March, I'm planning on reading like only sequels, if at all possible. So that's the goal here, is to pick as many of these to be sequeled as I can. So for this one, I'm going to be reading All the Feels by Olivia Dade. This one is the sequel to Spoiler Alert, which I read, I think last year, the year before, maybe? I don't remember, to be honest. I think it was the year before. Either way, doesn't matter. I read it a while ago. It was fine. It wasn't like my favorite romance book ever, but it was pretty good still. The first book follows an actor for a like Game of Thrones type of TV show who secretly writes fan fiction, and he becomes close friends with somebody else on there. Obviously, he is completely anonymous. If anybody knew that it was him, he would lose his job. So she ends up entering a cosplay contest for one of the characters from the show, and because she's plus size, she gets like ridiculed online. So partially to stop people from being mean to her, but also because he thinks she's beautiful, he asks her out on a date and then learns that she's actually his online friend, and then things get complicated. So that's the gist of book one, and then book two follows the main guy's friend, who is this like chaos gremlin. I love him. He has like severe ADHD. He's constantly getting into trouble to the point that his bosses assigned him a like essentially a like bodyguard, but like not to keep people from hurting him, but to keep him from getting into trouble with other people. So she's just his person to stop him from becoming a PR nightmare, and then they end up falling in love. So it sounds really cute. I liked this character from the first book, so I'm looking forward to learning more about him. He was hilarious in book one, so I think it's going to be a really, really funny book. And I liked the female character as well. She didn't have too much of a role in book one, but he was like smitten with her from their very first meeting, and she just like is so done with his shit. So it's going to be really funny, I think. Next up, I have to pick a graphic novel, manga, or a comic, and for this one I'm going to be reading The Old Guard Tales Through Time by Greg Rucka. I'm counting this as a sequel because it's like a spin-off of the Old Guard series. I fucking love The Old Guard so much. I want book 3 so badly, but I have no idea when it's coming out. But the movie is one of my favorite movies of all friggin' time. I love that movie so much. I don't like the comics quite as much as the movie. I know that's like a book sin, but I just think the movie has this like charm to it that the comics don't quite have. But either way, I still really enjoy the comics, and this Tales Through Time thing is like an anthology, I think, of just like the lives of the characters throughout the last, you know, hundreds or thousands of years in some cases, which just sounds wonderful and exactly what I want from this series. I love reading books with like immortal characters, but I always want to know what they've been up to for the last however long they've been alive, and I never get that. So thank you to these authors for giving it to me. I'm so excited for it. Next up, I have to read a seasonal book, which is one of my favorite prompts to get, and for this one I'll be reading The Winter of the Witch by Katherine Arden. This is the third and final book in the Winter Night trilogy, and this is the perfect wintry read. I mean, like, the word winter is literally in the title as well as the series name, so obviously it works for this. But this series takes place in like medieval Russia, and it follows our main character named Vasilisa, who is this young girl. Like, she starts off as a kid and she grows up throughout the course of this novel, but she is sighted. She's able to see the old gods of Russian folklore. She's friends with them, she leaves some tributes, and she is kind of the ones that's like keeping them alive, because in book 1 this is set during the time where Christianity is like on the cusp of taking over and the old gods are being forgotten, and so they're disappearing, which is leaving the people vulnerable to attack from the like ancient gods of the forest. So since Vasya is one of the only ones who can see them, it's kind of up to her to save them, and so that's what she's doing. But then there's also a whole lot more happening in this series. Book 2 was a wild ride that I really can't tell you about because it would spoil things for book 1. I have no idea what's going to happen in book 3. I haven't looked at the synopsis at all, and I don't want to. I just want to go into it completely blind and just have a really good time with it. I've heard that this is one of the best endings to a trilogy or a series in general, like ever. Everybody who I know has read this book has just adored it, so I can't wait for this one. Thank you, Operation Gods, for giving me this prompt. I have to read a sequel, which is so perfect. So I actually have 2 choices for this one. The first one is A Veil of Stardust and Savagery, I think it's called, by Analeigh Ford. It's the sequel to A Veil of Truth and Trickery, I think the first one was called. I read it in January and it was really fun. It's a new adult reverse harem fairy romance book. It's new adult because there are some spicier scenes in there, so if you don't want that, don't read this, but if you do want that, go read this. But basically this book follows a 21-year-old who was born with a fairy mark, so she was cursed by the fairies, and everybody knows that at some point the fae are going to come and take her to the fairy realm, and that is exactly what happened. It's near her 21st birthday where one of the fairy princes comes and takes her to the fairy realm, and then she and the 4 fairy princes are just traveling to the different courts throughout the course of the first novel, and slowly falling in love with all 4 of them. Not much really happens in the first book. Like, it's mostly a romance. It's not very like plot driven. Honestly, like, if you're looking for a like well-crafted plot driven book, this is not the one for you. This is really just a romance with like a bunch of hot fairies. That's basically what it is, and that is all that I want it for, so this is fine with me. But yeah, this book comes out on February 25th. Book 1 was available on Kindle Unlimited, so if book 2 also is, then I'll be reading that one, but if it's not, then I'm going to be reading the second book in the Taming Demons series by Annette Marie. I can't think of the name right now. Slaying monsters for something. The photo is here. But I read book 1 a couple of months ago and I fell in love with it. It was amazing. It was such a good book. I read it all in one day. I could not put it down. This is also a new adult series about a like young-ish woman. She's like college age, and her parents have just passed away, and so she is sent to live with her uncle temporarily while the estate gets settled, and her uncle has stolen her entire inheritance. So while she tries to get that back from him, she discovers that her uncle is actually hosting a very illegal demon selling ring in the basement. So her parents were demon hunters, so she was already aware of the magical world and everything. She just didn't expect to find a demon in the basement, and she definitely was not expecting to make friends with said demon via cookies. She like literally bakes cookies one day and like goes down to see him because she's curious, and like he scares her, so she like chucks the cookies at him, and then he's like, oh, these are delicious, and they become friends, which is one of my favorite tropes. I love any kind of like human monster, like unlikely friendship kind of thing, and especially when it turns into a romance, which this one is going to at some point throughout the 4-book series. It's a very slow burn romance, which is totally fine by me. I just adored the first book. The characters are just so much fun. The plot is fantastic, and it's also Canadian too. Like, I really need to read more Canadian books, so I can't wait to get to this one. I'm so excited for it. But either way, I'll be reading one of those 2 books, possibly even both, who knows. Alright, and those are all the books that I'm adding to my official TBR for this month, plus any mood reading that I'll most likely end up doing as well. I've been having like a really good couple of reading months so far this year. I'm not really sure what's going on, but I'm having a great time. So I'm really hoping that this momentum will keep going and I won't get into a reading slump, because like with my luck, I'm gonna add a whole bunch of books to my TBR and then like not want to read any of them. It's gonna happen at some point soon, but I'm just hoping to ride the wave for as long as I possibly can and see where that goes. But anyways, let me know what books you're reading for March. I would love to hear your thoughts, or if you've read any of these ones, let me know. But in the meantime, that'll do it for today's video. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye! I just noticed that I had my closet open for the entire video, and now I'm mad about it. God damn it.